Yo, welcome to another episode of Talk Yo Shift. We really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Before we get into this episode, I just wanted to let you guys know that we did have some audio issues during this conversation, and I tried my best in the editing process to minimize as many of those issues as possible without compromising the content. So I think you can still enjoy this conversation, and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a necessary topic that we're going to be talking about. So let's get to it. So we just had a really good conversation before we started recording, and some of the conversation was talking about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Which is church hurt. So, Twan, this is one of them, conversations where, church hurt is, I think it's important for us to define it, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I think it's, I think it could be overused.
Yeah.
Right. And just like anything, it's just like when a person learns a new word, they overuse it. They use it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, in our last episode, I said palatable so many times. You would think I just opened the dictionary and learned that word because I used it like a mug. And I was like, bro.
Found out what it means.
I was like, why am I saying this so much? Like, I never used it before.
That really do be how it be. When you learn a new word, you like,
hey, somebody's clowning me for it. Whoever's listening to it, somebody's clowning me for it. Like he must have just learned that word.
Yeah.
Nah,
I'm on to you, D.
Charge it to my ADHD brain. But so church hurt, I think, is a very important conversation because it can be overused.
Yeah.
Because it can be generalized. And I think there's a lot of harm that goes unacknowledged, that doesn't get acknowledged and doesn't get the attention that it should get because of how overused church hurt is.
Yeah.
Church hurt is one of those things that it's a real thing still.
100% agree.
Regardless of how often the phrase is used, it's still a real thing. It's just like, therapy language, psychology language. Like people learned what narcissist was, and now everybody was a narcissist.
Right.
It doesn't change the fact that narcissism is really a prevalent thing, and it's really a personality disorder that can really cause a lot of harm in relationships,
facts,
in churches, in families. But because people found language for it, they overuse it.
Yeah. Still doesn't change the reality that it's there.
Toxic masculinity is another one that could be used a lot, and it's like, it's still a real thing, regardless of how often people name it, and even if they misname it, right? It's still a real thing. So church hurt is one of those things that I feel like I've always had a heart for, because it's like, man, I just hope harm doesn't get overlooked because we keep using this word. Church hurt is really a thing, and I think it's important for us to talk about that and address it. Because I was raised in the church, bro, and I've seen harm.
So was our
organizations.
Real harm that
I've been harmed. I've seen other people get harmed, and it can get really bad, bro. It can get really bad, and if the conversation just stops at us just ignoring the term church hurt, because right now that's the language people just know how to use when they talk about their experiences at church.
That's it.
It is. Can it be generalized, and so can what happened to them not necessarily be harm?
Sure.
But to them, it was hurt, and I think if we acknowledge that first, then we can actually get to the actual root of what happened. Of people's experiences, so that they can have some perspective on what's actually going on.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, bro.
So, is church hurt overused? Yes, it is definitely overused. However, it's still something that needs to be talked about and addressed so that we don't overlook the hurt that actually happens.
Absolutely. 1,000% agree with you, bro.
So let's define what we mean by church hurt. So what is your definition of church hurt?
I'd say church hurt is anything that has caused someone harm by using spiritual bypassing in order to explain whatever issues or situation they're going through.
Yeah.
That's how I would define it.
I would agree.
You?
I think church hurt is harm. I think, and it's a variety of harm that can happen. I think what makes it that much more harmful is the justification. It's the using the spirituality in the Bible and the scripture to justify the harm, right? So it's like people not only harm you, but they double down on the harm because it was something that the Lord told them, or it's right here in scripture that this is what needs to happen. And it's like, Yeah, I think you're misusing that scripture, and even if you're not misusing it, I don't think you're applying it in a way that still brings reconciliation and still brings health to not only the organization, but to the well-being of someone's life, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing about overused phrases is that just because they overused, we sometimes allow that to make us overlook what's actually being done,
Yep.
you know? And but yeah, I would say church hurt is harm. It's
Yeah.
harm in a myriad
Absolutely.
of different ways. It's harm,
Yeah.
right? And that harm can look like a lot of things. Growing up, you know, harm looked like how you talk to people, right? Belittling people, being
Yep.
completely disrespectful, calling them out in front of the church and embarrassing them,
Mhm.
right? And condemning them openly,
Right.
right? And that used to be excused away as tough love.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's
No.
embarrassing. That's harmful. And that actually doesn't create for any progression in the relationship at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Harm has also looked like gossip, where,
Absolutely.
people are being talked about behind closed doors, and not just behind any closed doors, behind the pastor's door,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Behind, church leadership misusing information, confidential information of the parishioners and the people that go to their church and sharing it amongst the leadership in a very unhealthy and harmful way. That's church
Yeah.
hurt.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Being shamed for what you did or did not do and how you
Mhm.
live your life or how you present yourself in this world, being shamed openly and publicly is harm.
Yeah.
That's church hurt.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like these are real things that do happen. So even though the phrase church hurt gets overused, there is still harm
Real issues happening
that's
right
still
now.
happening
Mm.
in real time. And you would think the church would have learned it by now, right? Because it's like it amazes me how we still see the same type of harm, and it's like with the technology, the information, and the field of psychology and sociology that teach us how people are and how we can go about handling those issues.
All that information, there's still no change in direction.
You know what I'm saying? And I think we continue to spiritually bypass, which completely ignores the work that needs to be done. And we
Mhm.
just some church institutions just haven't tapped into the resources that we have around them because we pedestalize the Bible, going back to our conversation before we went live. We think the Bible gives us everything we need in order to handle these situations, and they don't.
They don't.
They don't.
I was having a conversation with Chris, and we brought up a scenario like, all right, if Christians want to say like this stuff right here works, all you need is the Bible, whatever they say, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but when you approach the real world, none of your theology actually really serves you when you actually get out into the world.
Uh-huh.
Let's say you are a husband and you have a family and you having issues with your wife. Your wife ain't a believer, or if she struggles with that sort of thing, you
Sure.
are. You go to church, and then you got pastors, the congregation, whoever telling you like, man, if I were you, I wouldn't be dealing with. And then you going to them like, man, I'm trying to do this, like get my wife to church or do this with my household, but it's not working.
Yeah.
It's like, what answers can you give me other than pray or read the Bible? Because I've done those things and they
Sure.
have not practically done anything for me.
Sure.
And that's where the spiritual bypassing typically comes in, which leads to people being hurt. And then the church likes to make excuses like, oh, well, they just got hurt because it was something of their doing, but they never want to actually take accountability for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, and so that's like the B part of our conversation, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
we either it's either church hurt can be overused, but also when you name church hurt or when you name harm, the institution of the church is just really just has an issue. They have a discomfort for being held accountable,
Mm,
right?
yep.
Because when you have people who have integrated psychology and the therapy world into how we go about handling people in the church space,
Yeah.
when harm is actually named, there's leadership in church that just have an issue with being held accountable because they're so used to just kind of like, sidestepping out of these things.
Yeah.
And, they give you the God told me and the scriptures and the Bibles and all this type of stuff. It's like, No, you mishandled that person,
Facts.
and you did a great deal of harm in their life because of your church BS,
Facts.
because of your language, because
Yep.
of how you went about handling them. You hurt that person very badly.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know what I'm saying? And it's just
Yep.
like, I hate that when people name church hurt, it just gets minimized.
It
And
does,
it's
bro.
like, man, and it's like, and that's why I think it's important for people to expand their vocabulary, right? Because
Yeah.
church hurt is harm.
Yep.
Church hurt is manipulation.
For sure.
Church hurt is shame. Church hurt is public embarrassment, public
Yeah.
shaming,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think we should be a bit more specific with our naming, right?
Yeah.
Give grace to those that only just have the language of church hurt and just say that that's what it is. But
Yeah.
let's pull back the layers and see exactly what that is,
Right.
right? Because then you got people who are being held accountable and think that they're being hurt. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you being held accountable for some bullshit that you did. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Some stuff
Facts.
that was extremely harmful. And I think it's important for us to continue naming the harm that happens in these institutions because again, the harm can get really bad, man, to the point where
Yep.
people unalive themselves due to the public shaming and
Yeah.
due to their harm being justified by scripture.
Yep. Facts. I
You
think
know?
it comes down to just Christians, pastors, whoever, just being receptive, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I think they let the word church hurt kind of give them a preconceived thought, and then they're like, they just, they're saying the common language that I hear is probably not even really that. So let me just ignore that, sweep it to the side,
Yeah.
and just give. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it's like, let's not focus so much on the word. Forget the word like church hurt. Like you said, that's probably just the language they're using. Let's give grace for that.
Yeah.
But let's start to peel back the layers on why are they hurt? What's the issue?
Yeah.
Why have they landed here? And then let's be willing to walk with people on journeys to their healing for whatever caused that. But a lot of times we're not willing to do that. We're just like making excuses for everything, because if we don't make excuses, then we ultimately have to wrestle with holding ourselves accountable and taking responsibility and solving a problem. When a lot of us are lazy and we don't really want to solve a problem, we just want to preach and give a word and then go eat Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, no, but I mean, but that's true. You bring out a certain dynamic that I think is the reason why hurt continues to be perpetuated, right? People just want to automatically dismiss people, right? We just want to check off the church box and do what we think we're supposed to do, but none of us really want to do the work. We don't really want to journey with people, right? We just want to give you a word and, skip away. And it's like,
we won't give you inspirational quotes. We won't give you microwavable advice.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, stop dismissing people.
Yeah.
Like, give them an opportunity to try their best to name what's going on, right?
Yep.
And sometimes you will pull back the layers and be like, oh, well, you know what? It's this. Like, let me give you perspective on this. And it could be something that could really help them along the way. Sometimes it doesn't even involve a lot of work. Sometimes it really is just helping a person change their language or the perspective on how things have played out in their lives, right? But then you do have those traumatic situations where some work really needs to be dealt with, and not just prayer, but guidance and conversation and therapy and an opportunity to, check back in with this person, sit down with them at a dinner table and really go to the lengths of making sure this person is safe and protected. But not only that, given an opportunity to be heard.
Absolutely. That's what I was about to say. These things only happen if we have conversations and we avoid the church hurt conversations.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of taking responsibility, because perhaps deep down we know, like, I ain't proud of some of the things I've done. Even if we just remove church from it, we're not proud of some of the decisions we made in our life. And some of them we probably didn't want to have to take accountability, responsibility for because we viewed them as so terrible. We like, man, I just want to put that behind me.
Yeah.
But then you dismiss someone else's healing because you refuse to take responsibility.
Yeah. And a lot of times we do that to others because we do it to ourselves.
That's true too. Yep.
Sometimes traumatic experiences fall into the subconscious mind, and we do try to just pack it down and just suppress it.
Yep.
And that's just that's just how our body and our nervous
system
how bodies
tries
to protect itself. It's easy to dismiss other people.
Yeah.
When you dismiss your own emotions and you dismiss your own experiences, then you project that onto other people. And that's another way of how hurt and harm is perpetuated
Goes
within
all
the
the way
church.
back to your beliefs,
Yeah.
which is the source.
Yeah. You know
Your
what I'm saying?
beliefs is what's shaping how you express or respond to any given situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we gotta quit dismissing ourselves and quit dismissing other people. Right.
Facts.
There's all of these open doors there's so many different ways we continue to perpetuate the harm. And a lot of it is with self first. Right. And then we project that onto other people. Because again, when you can just simply have a conversation and allow a person to be heard, then you can assess how much damage has really been done.
Yeah.
And there's some situations that's minor where
Yeah.
it's just a perspective shift, right?
Right.
It's just a conversation. It's just hashing it out. It's just being able to get it off your chest and vent, and then giving some language and some understanding on the situation,
Yeah.
right?
And then some are journeys.
And then there's a level two where there's actually some work that needs to be done. Let's get some counseling going. Let's have the conversation. Let's make sure you're heard and attended to. We can really walk with you. We could check back in with you to see how things are going. And then
Facts.
there's a level three where there's some deep work. Sometimes you need to call the cops.
Especially if it's an ongoing, continuing thing.
You know what I'm saying? Because abuse is happening now.
Absolutely.
There's a predator that is attacking this person in ways that we haven't seen, but they're telling us. Their body is showing us. Their language is showing us. So sometimes you just need to call the cops. But when we've created this habit of dismissing, and because the church hurt phrase is overused, we minimize people's experiences. That's why people feel like they're unheard, and that's how harm continues to be perpetuated.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Spot on. Yep.
It's like our drive for justice shouldn't just be on racial issues.
Nope.
It should also be internal, for family issues, for just life. Like, go to war, go to fight for justice for people in their lives. Justice
it's bigger than
is not
just you.
A civil rights thing. It's not just a black and white thing. Justice is everywhere.
It's bigger than you. It's bigger than your community.
You know,
it's bigger than your environment. It's everywhere.
There's families where daughters are at war with their mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the daughters need a voice. They need somebody to fight on their behalf because mom is not listening.
Mm-hmm.
And mom is causing the harm and the abuse. Same thing with fathers and sons, or sons and mothers. Like, there's so many different familial dynamics that we just continue to allow to be perpetuated because we just dismiss and we minimize people's experiences.
Yeah.
It's like, as soon as we hear church hurt, we minimize automatically because it's an overused phrase. And it's like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
That may just be the only language that a person can use right now because they don't really know how to name what's going on.
Right. Because a lot of people think church hurt, or at least I would say the church specifically, typically defines church as, or at least is how they look at it. They look at it as, you were just offended by something you heard, some sermon, somebody told you about your sin. So that's why they minimize it, because they think most human beings just don't want to hear about how bad they are.
No, nigga, you told me that my humanity is you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you told me that I don't deserve to live. You told me that I deserve to burn in hell. Like, no, I didn't just disagree with a sermon.
Come on, bro.
Like, dog, you just dehumanized my whole existence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why, these conversations are important, because it's like, bro, ain't nobody just disagreeing with your little sermon.
Yeah, because
like,
that's what a lot of Christians say. You see it from Philip Anthony Mitchell's, all of them. Like, they're just offended. Their spirit's just offended, or their demons are just offended because they're getting told the truth, and nobody likes to hear the truth.
No.
In your face, you just like, nah.
No.
I'm not hurt.
No.
It's crazy, bro.
I'm not with it. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong. In a lot of situations, the truth does hurt. But you know who it hurts? It hurts the predator. It hurts the perpetuator. Typically. It hurts the person that needs to be held accountable. That's who it hurts. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong. Like, we live life and there's some self-inflicted wounds that we cause. There's sometimes when we make knucklehead decisions and we do some stupid stuff that decisions that should not have been made. Right? And it's important for us to take self-accountability for, no, I messed that up. I went about that the wrong way, and I got to do the necessary work in order for me to right that wrong, right? There's times where it's that, but it's like a lot of times it's like, man, no, that's no. The
Yep.
truth can be given in love, and I ain't talking about no petty pat on the back and always, but it could be understood. Like I think we got to get better at naming where the harm is and not just
Absolutely.
dismissing it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because what could be minor in our world could be major in somebody else's world.
Yeah.
And regardless, we still need to be attuned to that and give it the attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely, bro. 1000%. I agree.
don't allow the explicit use of the words church hurt cause you to minimize or dismiss someone's experience. Because
Amen.
real harm still happens in the church.
Facts.
And it could be by well meaning people, or it
Yes.
could be by very manipulative and narcissistic leadership.
That too.
Or the lack or just poor leadership, right?
Yeah.
People who just like having the mic and the podium, but have no leadership skills whatsoever, no people
Whatsoever. Yeah.
skills, don't really know how to lead people and care for people. You just like being on the stage,
That
right?
what's the that sound like somebody we know. What's the name of the dude that's our president again?
Man, we don't need to
Moving
give
on.
no we don't need to.
Yeah. Moving on. So I actually wrote something down about this about where's it at? About why I think the church the institution struggles with accountability. And I think it's because they're designed for self-preservation.
Mm,
A healthy model of accountability is not a crisis management plan. It is the daily normal practice of a family that is so secure in its identity that it is not afraid of its own weakness.
self-preservation.
Self-preservation. That's it. Cause think about it, like even if we go all the way back to the Roman period,
Yeah,
like whenever Jesus was on the scene, like of course they were mad at a lot of the things he were doing, but what was the one thing he was screwing up for them?
yeah,
They currency, the
yeah,
money coming in. So I think with the church, it's the same thing. Like this is still an institution. This is still an organization. This is still a business. Therefore, it has to be ran like a business. Therefore, all of our decisions have to ultimately benefit us,
yeah.
even if that means harm for the other.
And when you start to name harm, a lot of times you start to affect people's bottom line.
Mm,
And a lot of times it is the business of the church that can
mm,
perpetuate the harm, right? Because a lot of these institutions bring in a lot of money.
facts. And
They
you can't
do. I mean,
compartmentalize that.
it's just what it is. Like it's an
Yeah,
organization. You know, there is a bottom line. There are financial margins that are being met, and there's money that's being made. I mean, from the millions, billions, trillions. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
it's like a lot of times when you name harm and when you hold leadership accountable, it affects the bottom line,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? And that's another reason why the conversation of church hurt and name and harm is just that much more vital, is
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, some people are there's leadership and there's voices, influential voices that are extremely harmful to our culture. And because these people are well known and they make a lot of money and they got a lot of things at stake,
They influence it.
you know
They
what
have
I'm
a lot of
saying?
influence and impact on people.
You
Yep.
know, a lot of harm just kind of gets swept over and kind of covered up.
Right.
And that's deadly, that's violent, and that's
Yeah,
unsafe, and it doesn't make for a good culture at all. And
absolutely.
it's at the expense of people's lives. It's at the
Unfortunately.
expense of people's lives. When the well-being and the livelihood of humanity is at stake, and all we're doing is trying to save face, or like you said, self-preservation to keep the
Mm-hmm.
branding or the presentation of our church or organization. When
Yeah,
people's lives are at stake, that's not a healthy organization at all.
right. And then the
And I
church says things like change and transformation, but it's like, how's there ever any change or transformation if ultimately the way things are ran is conditioned on if you benefit from it, if you're benefiting enough from it.
yeah,
However, if you're not, like things get shifted, changed around. It doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter what harm it causes for the other. It only
yeah.
matters about how it benefits you. If we can save face, if we can self-preserve this church,
We need
is
to
this
stop
church growing?
we need
Go
to
ahead.
stop measuring the impact of the church by altar calls
Mm. Or attendance.
or attendance. Just because your church is fat and the altar call be crazy and you got 50, 100, 500 people coming to the altar, that doesn't need to be a gauge.
Nope.
It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Because, one, psychologically, what's going on is very emotional.
Facts.
Right? I'm not dismissing the spiritual that's going on, but I'm just saying a lot of what's going on, the oxytocin is really high in those worship services. And a lot of times, it could be very generalized. And those people can be very moved in those moments emotionally to the point where they feel provoked or they feel led to go to the altar, right? Because when they leave the altar, now that's when the work really needs to start. The problem is the work doesn't really start after the altar.
Yeah, it just behavior modification.
But it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good.
Yep.
Now that we got cameras in the church and now people are able to broadcast or document their altar calls, this has to be a sign of growth and health. And it's not. It's not.
And also, I think them altar calls teach other people too. Like, I'm assuming that's what you have to do in order to get what they're getting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times our actions can teach others, like, this is what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then if ain't nobody getting up coming to the altar, it's like, maybe you're not receiving what you ask God for, what you want. Or maybe God ain't fixing that hurt in your life.
Yeah.
You ain't coming to the altar.
Yeah. No, one thing I've learned as a public speaker and as a preacher or communicator, the most receptive room is the most quietest one. The people who are really listening are not giving you no emotional fluff or emotional feedback. The most quiet room is the most receptive one.
Most receptive?
Right? Because they're not allowing any noise or distractions to keep them from hearing what it is that's being said.
They locked in.
What you're saying, they could be disagreeing with, but they're listening to it.
They locked in, yeah.
And for some people, it's just hitting them. It's connecting with them. It's resonating with them. And I think our public speakers and pastors and people who's on these stages and got the mic, we need to get better at not being suckers for the hand clap.
Ooh, that's difficult there.
We should want a quiet room.
Yeah.
Right? So that what's being said can actually be heard.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to provoke you. I'm not here to make you run to the altar. I'm not here to make you shout, cry, or anything. If the truth, if what's being said resonates with you and your body responds in a certain way, that's its own nature. But I'm not here to make sure this altar is full. If this room never responds with sound or an emotional feedback in this moment, but when you leave this place and there's actual work being done and transformation is happening, I really think you should go to the comment section of your parishioners' Facebook posts and stuff like that and really see how they're internalizing your message and how they're weaponizing it towards other people. I don't care if your church is packed. Check their comment section. Go to Threads. I don't know what it is about my Threads, but my Threads is like, it's almost a Christian site. And I'm like, this is horrible. This is horrible. And there's people that go to some of these well-known churches, and I'm not going to say no name because my goal is not to bring attention to them, but
to them,
we all know who and what we talking about, right? And there's very popular churches that people will drive hours to go get to. And they got lines around their churches and they altar call is crazy packed.
Yeah.
But these same parishioners, these same congregational members, these same people who are under this person's tutelage, when you go to their comment section on Threads, the message they got, they internalize it and now they weaponizing other people with it.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's like transformation ain't happening. You're giving them ammunition.
You're a thumper. You're a Bible thumper.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's what really needs to be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about the altar call and the snot and the crying and all that.
Yeah.
That don't matter. What does this message do? And
what
how
is your
does
belief? What works does this produce in your life? Your beliefs, what work they produce in your life?
And does it provoke you? Like, how is it provoking you to interact with the world, with humanity?
It provokes me to tell people the truth about if they believe in Jesus, they can go to heaven. And if they don't, they're going to hell in a handbasket.
When I tell you so much harm is going down on these comment threads, bro, And it's like, and they do it in the name of the church they go to. So much so that if you name their pastor, their church, I don't know what it is. It's like a button you get hit at the church, and they all come running to the post, and they start to defend the pastor in the church. And I'm like, man, y'all do know this is cult behavior, right? Like this ain't got nothing to do with Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like when you get that fed up, you know what I'm saying?
When you look up the definition of a cult, this is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, like y'all gotta be careful because y'all running a little bit too fast to defend this person.
Facts.
I'm talking about, you ever seen somebody run so hysterically they tripping and falling and they can't because they can't get there fast enough. That's how they be coming to these comment sections, man.
And backing they boy up.
They gotta defend my man. They gotta, man, you're not about to say this about my pastor.
Yeah, like, we might need a backup crew like that for ourselves.
If y'all don't want nobody to say nothing about your pastor, cut them cameras off. Cut them cameras off if you don't want nobody to say nothing about your pastor, man.
Facts. Cut them off.
Because we just live in that time now,
Keep that message between you and y'all church.
And seriously, if this is...
You don't want nobody to say nothing.
If this is what y'all gonna do, and if y'all... Plus, that should make you question. If you constantly having to defend your pastor or your church...
Is your stuff really as strong as you say it is?
Is it the people or is it the church?
Facts. No one tests a chair before they sat in it. You just sat down in it. Because it's good. It's the chair. So why are we doing that same thing with our beliefs? Like, I gotta keep testing the chair before I sit in it. Why is that though?
Hey dog, if you are defending your pastor in your church on a regular basis, I don't know. I question the pastor in your church.
For sure.
First, anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's
why you gotta defend them? If what dude is saying is heavy and holds some weight, you ain't gotta defend it. 2 + 2 = 4. It's like, what we talking about? Facts is facts. You can argue and deny it all you want.
You know what I'm saying? And harm is harm.
Mm-hmm.
And safety is safety.
Facts.
And what are you producing?
Yeah. What are you producing?
What are you producing? Because that's another way that church hurt is perpetuated too. People internalize the messages being given at church, and then they weaponize it. You know what I'm saying? And they make it doctrine, and they make sure that other people are living by the same word. And it's like, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah. I feel like church, bro, is almost like, you got the cool, like in high school we had the different groups, like that's the cool kids table, that's the nerds table, that's the jock table, that's the cheerleaders table. I feel like that's what church is.
Yeah.
Like in the world, like.
For sure.
We're the people of God, and then everybody else is excluded from that until they come in this place.
It becomes elitism.
For sure.
It becomes elitism. I mean, it's just what it is.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And people got to be very careful about that. It does become elitism. It becomes cultish. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's the pedestalization. Is that a word? It's the pedestalizing.
I think so, yeah.
It's the pedestalizing of people, pastors, and certain voices. And it's the pedestalizing of the Bible too, right? To think that this is something that's just like without error and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And we can't question or challenge what people said in the Bible either.
Right.
So when you start to pedestalize things like that, harm follows right after that.
Absolutely.
Harm follows right after that.
Right after.
And I think it's important for us to continue naming harm, continue holding ourselves and others accountable. It's important for us to do those things, and it's important for us to, again, not minimize people's experiences.
Yep.
Right? Because we all have lived experiences, and sometimes those experiences can be very traumatic and they can be very hurtful. And I think we have a responsibility to listen to one another and not dismiss or minimize what that experience is. Again, what they're going through could be minor to you, but it's major to them.
To them.
Right?
So acknowledge their feelings.
Have a heart and just have a conversation. Just listen, like, man, what's going on?
Yeah.
You could probably already be privy to the situation. Like, you know what this person is dealing with, and it's like, it's nothing to you, but to them it's something. So it's like, let me listen. Let's talk. Let's journey through it. Because again, you can assess the impact of that situation. It could be something minor. It could be like, you just needed to make a left turn. You just went off the wrong exit. You know what I'm saying?
But you would never know that if you don't have those conversations.
And if you just dismiss people, you'll never understand their lived experiences. And it's like, I just know how I would feel like if I got dismissed and my experiences got minimized. That's
I know
hurtful.
how I felt. I've been dismissed.
Yes.
I'll tell a story, actually. I'm not gonna name the church. I think we've had this talk before. Was going to a church, the church I was going to previously before Hill City now. And then I kind of start journeying, thinking about certain things differently. And then they actually one night had invited me to a meeting. And it was like, hey, Twine, we're gonna have a meeting.
Yeah.
3 different pastors in the room.
Yeah.
And they're talking to me about these different beliefs and what I'm critically thinking about, where I'm at in my journey.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you said, bro. Unfortunately, like when I was telling them everything on like why I was thinking that way, it was very logical.
Yeah.
Like very, very critical thinking, like very valid questions. They didn't really have any answer for it. They were just like, there's no higher knowledge. You ask stuff about God, they like, it's just the way God set it up. Like I think I said something about the bashing babies' heads against rocks.
Yeah.
Like, just the way God set it up.
Yeah.
What?
What?
It's just the way he set it up. That's the best you got for me.
Yeah, it's just what God said.
It's just the way it's set up, man. No higher knowledge. Like, okay. And so that's the thing, bro. Like, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, a lot of times there's so much church hurt because, to be honest with you, I think the church doesn't even have a lot of answers for the things that go on in the world. They really don't have solutions on how to, like, to handle the situations and solutions in the world by restoring them responsibly and maturely the best they have. And they don't even really do a good job at that. They just think they do is pointing out people's sin.
Yeah.
Pointing out the evil and bad in the world. But the church was actually meant to be a place that restores the world, goes out and does order within the world.
Yeah.
Right? However, we don't do that. We just sit back, be bystanders, and say, look at how bad the world is. But it's like, you know what's so funny? Is you're actually a part of the problem if you want to just be a bystander and say, the world's bad and God's gonna come back and like clean it up someday.
I'm gonna do a part 2 to this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I want to get to the solutions, and I want to get to a more reimagined church. Right? And what church should look like.
That's probably what you should name it right there. Reimagined.
Yeah. I think it's important for us to reimagine church. Not where less harm is committed.
Yeah.
Because we're humans, right? When we have the complexities
harm's gonna happen
and being safe.
Yeah.
Reimagining an institution, a community of church that has the right leadership structures in place where we are better at naming the harm and not only just naming it, but doing something about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want to do a part 2 to this, and I think it's very important because, again, church hurt is something that's commonly used and sometimes overused.
Yeah.
But I think if we really listen to what's being said, there's a lot that's being said about people's lived experiences when it comes to the church. Yeah, I want to do a part 2 for those. So for those that's listening, be on the lookout for part 2 of this conversation about church hurt, because I really want to walk through what we can reimagine church to be for ourselves and for other people, where we can create safer institutions and safer organizations.
Yeah.
For the well-being of humanity.
Right. Absolutely.
So
bro.
That's what we're gonna do. So
we're gonna do that.
Yeah. So Twine, I appreciate you, bro. And we're gonna keep this conversation going. But until then, be curious,
ask questions,
and talk your shit.